Hi, this is JR from PFRS Circle. Today we are going to talk about cash and cash equivalents. Note that there is no particular governing accounting standard for cash and cash equivalents, but we can use PAS 1 or PAS 7 statement of cash flows for this type of assets. Cash and cash equivalents are financial assets that are required to be separately disclosed in the statement of financial position under current assets. Cash can be defined as simply as money in layman terms, but it is more than that. Let's go first on the first basic classification of cash. First kind of cash is currency and coins. These are the petty cash funds and cash on hand, or simply money that are issued by the central bank where the entity is incorporated. Second, checks and money order. The difference between the two is that checks are those issued by the banks, while money orders are those issued by post office, wherein where you can present it at any post office and you can get money from that money order. Note that the checks must not be post-dated or undelivered at year end. Third are unrestricted bank deposits. Under unrestricted bank deposits, compensation balance sometimes are included in these deposits. Now, the question is, when are compensation balance part of cash and when it is not? You must remember that if a compensation balance is legally restricted, it must not be part of cash. Even if it is for a short-term borrowing, but it is legally restricted, then you must not make it part of cash. If the problem is silent, compensation balances are assumed to be not legally restricted. Let's also talk about bank overdrafts. Bank overdrafts happens when, for example, the bank's debit service fee in your account, where the service fee happens to be greater than the balance in your account. What happens is that there will be a deficit balance in your bank account. Now, the rule here is that you can offset. This is an exception to the IAS 1 provision where you cannot offset things. But if ever you have a deficit balance in an account in a bank and you have another account in the same bank wherein you have a credit balance, offsetting is allowed. But if there is none, what will happen is that bank overdraft cannot be offsetted in your cash account, meaning you should set up another account under current liabilities. Remember that bank overdrafts are different from bank drafts. Bank drafts are financial instruments. Let's talk about the fourth. The fourth kind of cash or funds, restricted funds such as restricted cash. Remember that the restriction for the funds to be part of the cash must be first for the current use, for example, for payroll, and second, for current liabilities. So if you have restricted cash, for example, bond sinking fund, that are for non-current liabilities, it must be not be part of your cash. Let's talk about cash equivalents. These are short-term, highly liquid investments acquired 3 months or less from maturity date according to PAS 7. Remember that it must be acquired 3 months or less from the maturity date. Any settlement after the year end doesn't matter. Examples are 3 months time deposits, 3 months money market instruments, and 3 months treasury bills. Remember that equity securities cannot qualify as cash equivalents because these shares do not have a maturity date. However, redeemable preference shares that actually has a maturity can be part of cash equivalents if they are acquired 3 months before the required redemption DEITH, so they can qualify as cash equivalents. Cash is valued at face value in the current assets of the statement of financial position, and any cash in foreign currency should be valued at current exchange rate. Now let's go to a sample problem, and you should answer this with me. PFRS circle dated December 31, 2017 information state that there is first item, there's a checking account balance of 300,000 in the Bank of Commerce. Now, yes, this is a checking account, thus it must be included in your cash and cash equivalents, but there is a note saying that the Bank of Commerce account has a compensating balance of 50,000 for a short-term borrowing. The compensating balance is legally restricted. So even if it is for a short-term borrowing, but it is legally restricted, thus it must not form part of your cash and cash equivalents. Thus, you must present it in your financial position as 250,000 checking account Bank of Commerce. The next items are cash in bank, PPI account number 1 and 2. Since one of them has a deficit balance, it can be offsetted in 100,000 as legal compensation. So you must report it under the account balance of 70,000 pesos in your current in your cash and cash equivalents. Cash in bank, Bank of Malagutay, there is a deficit of 20,000. 20,000 cannot be offsetted in cash and cash equivalents since there is no another account in the Bank of Malagutay where there is a credit balance. Check drawn against PFR circle payable to supplier dated January 31, 2018, recorded on December 1, 2017. 50,000. This is an example of post-dated check. Again, post-dated checks should not be deducted from your cash and cash equivalent cash and cash equivalents since they are still dated January 31, 2018, and you have already deducted them on December 1, 2017 from your checking account Bank of Commerce. Thus, you must add it back 50,000 plus the petty cash fund 10,000. Cash in sinking fund, this is for a long-term liability. It's restricted fund. It must not form part of your cash and cash equivalents. Treasury bills purchased December 1, 2017, maturing March 31, 2018. This is a type of instrument purchased 4 months before its maturity. Again, our requirement, it must be 3 months before maturity. Now, even if as of December 31, 2017, the treasury bills is maturing 3 months to March 31 from December 31, it must not form part of your December 31 cash and cash equivalents balance because it was acquired 4 months before its maturity. So you must disregard the 70,000. Time deposit purchased December 1, 2017, maturing March 1, 2018. Now this is a time deposit 3 months purchased before its maturity, so it must form part 80,000. Cash on hand restricted for payroll. Payroll is for current use, so you must include it 90,000. So you must get the answer of 550,000.